Hundreds of mourners congregated at the Oljabet home of Mzee Samuel Karori, a close friend of the family of Royal Media Service Chairman Dr. S.K. Macharia, in a week that also saw the death of Environment Minister John Michuki and former Defence Minister Jenga Karome, both personal friends of Dr. Macharia. A loss that was mourned as the nation was urged to emulate the good example set by the deceased.
This week I have lost Wanja's brother, Mishuki, and Jenga Karume. It has been a very difficult week for me.
It has been a very difficult week for me.
So, Mama Karori, the only thing I can tell you is that we are together through this grieving period.
The deaths that have taken place in the past week were termed as some of the most difficult moments to bear so far. Samuel Muthe Karori died after suffering from a stroke. He died at the age of 68, leaving behind a wife, Margaret Njeri, and 7 children. Meanwhile, it was an emotional send-off for John Kangi, who had served at Royal Media Services Company for over 15 years. Friends and family congregated at the Anglican Church in Baricho, Kirinyaga County for a final farewell.
I'm following the path God has laid. I took his hand when I heard him call. I turned my back and left it all.
A funeral service that in many ways was a celebration of his life and selfless service to all who knew him. Mrs. Gadhoni Macharia, the Vice-Chair at Royal Media Services, gave an emotional recount of the early years, often breaking down as she recounted the years that were characterized by hardships at the company. And through it all, the late Kangi stood by them.
Kangi worked for us even when things were so bad and we even couldn't afford to pay them. Kangi chose to stay with us. It was a major sacrifice.
Sacrifice, she pledged, will not go unrewarded, as the late Kangi's children would now reap from what their father had sowed through hardship.
To Kangi's children, do not struggle with anything. We will take care of you and pay back to you what your daddy gave to us in service when we couldn't even pay him.
To the congregation, his selfless service delivery was given as one that ought to be emulated. While sending an apology on behalf of Acting Finance Minister Njero Githai, who was unavailable for the burial on official duty, his wife Alice Wanjiku sought to encourage those congregated.
All of us will go the same way as Kangi. All we can ask is that God rest his soul in eternal peace.
Eventually, the time to lay his remains at the final resting place was at hand, as those gathered bade farewell, taking turns to lay wreaths at the graveside. To a husband, a father, friend and workmate whose story in death was a celebration of a life well lived, a tribute to years of service that touched many lives. Chris Wangombe, Citizen Weekend.